Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. This is Dr. Makemba. We invite you to join us on this platform once again as we continue with our Wonders of Wisdom series. Today we are yet looking at another interesting subject matter. We are going to be talking about fathers. Who a father is, who a father is not, and what roles and responsibility do fathers need to play in society today. It is very amazing when you look at society today. The moral fiber of society is busy decaying. Families are not functional anymore. Nations are breaking apart, and it can be traceable to one thing and one thing only, and it's oftentimes because of the absence of fathers in the family. Now, if you look at a family as a building block of society, eventually the society makes up the nation. So if the family is dysfunctional, you will end up with a dysfunctional society and a dysfunctional nation. The painful thing, however, is that in most families, fathers are not present, and this is what makes families dysfunctional. They are physically there, but they are not executing their roles, their functions, and their responsibility effectively. Most of the time, this tends to happen because even fathers themselves, they don't often understand what their roles are. They themselves, when they were growing up as young men, they never really had any exemplary figure to look up to. So it's a perpetuation of lack of fathers over generations that have led to where we are in many cases. Now, as a father, or an individual that is deemed to be a father, is an individual that is able to execute functions effectively, number one, within his family and in the society find himself at large. Number one, if you are a father, you need to understand that you are the head of your family. You are the head of your wife. You are the protector to your children. You are the provider to your family. You should be the individual that molds the character of your children. You should be the individual that protect your family from the storms of life. You should be the individual that your son look up to as a role model, and your daughter look up to as a first love. As a father, you need to love your wife properly, take care of your wife, respect and honor her in the presence of your children. This is what creates stability. Because when they are growing up and they observe you loving your family in this way, they too will have a model on which to base their own family one day, when they are at the time that they are going to start a family. Now, let's look at what a father is not. You are not a father simply because you are a male figure. Nor are you a father simply because you donated sperm and you now have fathered a child. Having testicles doesn't make you a father either. So, fatherhood really is in the functionality and in executing roles and responsibilities. And it's very important for us as young men and men in our society today to understand that the society will either make it or fall based on how we execute this function. And of course, for us to be able to function effectively, we need to change our mindset. We need to inform ourselves. We need to study subject matters that will give us a mindset that will frame our, understanding in how to execute the responsibility of a father. Let me use a family as a model on which we are going to base our discussion. Assuming now you are married, you have a wife and you have children. Let's say you have a son and a daughter. Now, your responsibility in that family, first and foremost, is to raise these children to make them functional adults. And there's a saying that the best thing a man can do for his children is to love their mother right. So you start off as a man by respecting your wife. You love your wife. You must be truthful and honest with your wife. You must not cheat your wife. You must come home on time. You must honor quality family times. You must be present all the time at the dinner table, unless you really have to be somewhere. You should be the one leading your family in praying for that meal. You should be the one to ask your son how his day was at school. You should be the one to ask your daughter how her day was at school. As a father, you must be there to see what homework did your son get from school, what homework did your daughter get from school. As a father, you must be there to help them do their homework. When they wake up in the morning, you should be the first one to be up in that house. Make sure that your household is in order as a father. If possible, you as a father, you must be the one to drop off your children at school. You must be the one to pick them up at school. Of course, one might then ask, if I am to do all of this, then what is the responsibility of my wife? Your wife, she's there to keep it going. Your wife is there to make sure the meal is prepared on time. Your wife is there to make sure that you guys are dressed properly. She washes your clothes, for instance. She irons them. She makes sure that the beds are made up. She makes sure that the children have taken a proper bath in the morning. And of course, she goes and do, groceries for your family. By the way, you should always give her your bobcat to go and do the groceries. I know traditionally, especially in an African setting, we tend to hold certain belief systems that unfortunately works against, building functional families. As a provider, as a man, you need to work hard and provide for your family. I know that we live in a world where even our ladies are working as well, which is good, but it's not your wife's responsibility to fork out the bills to take care of your household as a man. Even biblically, it does not make sense. A woman was never given a role to lead a family. Her role is simply just to keep it together. But it is our responsibility as men to do the right thing. Now, I want to use a context from a scriptural reference point of view. In the book of Numbers, chapter 14 and verse 18, we are told that God visits the iniquity of the fathers to the children, even unto a fourth generation. Now, theologically, a generation is believed to be 50 years. Now, if God entreat the shortcomings of the fathers to his children, even unto a fourth generation, it means that your conduct as a father could have a repercussion that will run down your generations of your children up to 200 years. Most of us men, we struggle today, oftentimes because of the struggles of our fathers. Sometimes the things that defeated our fathers, they follow us through life. It is therefore important for us as men to understand that for our children to be liberated, to grow, to become better than what we are, to take it to the next step, we need to defeat some of the things that runs in our family lives. We need to rebuild our character. We need to rebuild the way we conduct ourselves. We need to do things differently. We need to determine in our own individual life as men to say that I am going to stand the test of time. I will stand up for my family. I'll do the right thing. We live in the world with all kinds of temptation. Yes, it comes to us all. We will make mistakes from time to time. Yes, that can happen. But we might just not make it a habit of always doing the wrong thing. We must take time, sit down, reflect on how we do things. Purposefully plan our life as men to say that this is the direction I want my family to go into. And when you have determined the direction in which you want your family to go in, follow it through. Let it not just be a plan on paper. Follow it through with action. Action always speaks louder than words. And of course, as men in society today, we need to, start, having this conversation. We need to start building each other up. We need to start encouraging each other in doing the right thing. The Bible also tells us that, in the book of Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 25, it says, husband, love your wife, just as Christ loved the church and he gave his life for the church. In other words, that simply means that as a man, you should love your wife to a point where you are willing to die for her. If you are not willing to die for her, then you don't really love her that much. I know also it's not easy because sometimes these ladies that comes in our lives also, they didn't have father figures. Or most of the time in their families too, their fathers were absent. So they sometimes to also not know really how to relate to a man or a male character. And oftentimes this brings conflict in relationships, conflict in marriages. Some women don't really know how to submit to authority. They do not know how to submit to the authority of a man simply because maybe they were raised by a single mother or their father was just not there at all. As a man, you need to, pull up your sleeves. You gotta be patient with her. Even when she acts childish, you gotta still love her. You have to respect her. You have to protect her. Even when her childishness might negatively reflect on the family, it's still your responsibility as a man to sit your woman down and love her nevertheless. Speak to her. Have the conversation. Share a vision with your lady so she knows where you are headed, and give her that space where she can also support you. When the storms of life hits, and they will hit, there will come a time where your family will be faced with all kinds of challenges. And when that happens, as a man, this is not the time to throw in the towels. This is not the time to give up. This is not the time to run away and disown your family. This is not a time to find, the second one to take care of the responsibility of the main one at home. It's a time for you to sit down as a man. It's a time for you to calm down, get your focus going, just be the man that you are, or you ought to be in your family. That's just the way it is. Unfortunately, as men, the responsibility that's on our shoulder is so huge, and oftentimes we don't realize it. And this is why society is the way it is today. Most of what we're supposed to be doing is left to the ladies, unfortunately, and it's not in their character, but they are trying their very best. And I really, salute all the ladies out there that have been doing their best to raise those children by themselves. And I encourage you to hang in there and, have that conversation with your man also. Sit him down. If he doesn't seem to understand his responsibility as a lady, talk sense into your man's mind. Give him the responsibility and cheer him on also. Make him feel like he's a man that he ought to be. Because sometimes, a little bit of encouragement helps us as men. It's also very difficult when a man is working hard, he's doing the right thing, and he doesn't get encouraged. He doesn't seem to feel the value that, he's bringing on the table is being appreciated. So it's also your responsibility as ladies to love your men right. And don't be an ignorant lady who goes on, looking for advice from people that do not have functional families for themselves. They will give you advices that will bring home and you end up destroying your own family. So you have to be very careful too as a lady, and never discuss your man's weakness with anybody, So, your challenges at home, they stay at home, they are dealt with at home. They say that, in marriages, do not discuss your problem with somebody unless they have the capacity to solve the problem. So whenever you are faced with a challenge, it's between you and your man, work it out among yourself. It's not a time to go and discuss him with, whosoever. And of course, when you have done your best and you realize maybe there is something that you cannot, handle, the two of you, you need to identify individuals that you deem to be wise enough to have a better understanding in helping you understand what you are going through and in resolving it amicably without them exposing you. It's very important, The secret, to a family that will stand the test of time, unfortunately, in most cases, is also the ability to keep secrets. Not everything is supposed to be discussed in the street. So I just want to say, fathers, brothers, go out there, do the right thing, love your family. Let's build a functional society that eventually produce functional nations. This is your brother, Dr. Makemba. We'll see you very soon. I love you. Take care.